dear listeners, to another episode of the Empowerment Minutes podcast. This is Dr. Maurine Kwende here. Welcome to all the first-timers and to our existing fans. Welcome back to the Empowerment Minutes podcast. Again, I'm Dr. Maurine Kwende, your podcast host. I'm a learning leader, faculty, researcher, speaker, coach, consultant, and author. I'm passionate about empowering leaders to reach their full potential through my podcast, through my Dream Big and Body Academy called the DBBA Academy, through my research, teaching, books, social media channels, and newsletter. You can learn more about me at www.maurinekwende.com or reach out to me via email at info@emklearningsolutions.com. So this month, the focus is on emerging leaders, future leaders. And so today we're diving into a topic that's crucial for organization success, raising up potential leaders. And this means identifying and nurturing leadership talent within your organization. And this can really be a game changer if you're serious about it. It's great for succession planning. In fact, emerging leaders are the seeds to your organization's success and future. And if you want to thrive as an organization, I believe it's worth investing in your future leaders, emerging leaders, high potential leaders. But the question is, how do you know if you're already raising up potential leaders? And this week's episode, we're going to answer that question by providing you a checklist to guide you through it. So now, how do you know if you are raising up potential leaders? Now, the first question I want to ask you is, are you identifying new talent? That's one way of finding out. You know, there are various ways for you to identify new talent. And not in any specific order. You could do that through assessments, through performance reviews, through employee referrals. Employees usually refer someone they have confidence in their abilities. I remember one point in my career, that's how I was identified through employee referral program, and the leaders were very impressed, and the rest is history. I was, in a leadership position for so many years. As you know, I come with over 20 years of experience. So if you're looking at someone who's been referred through your program, it's really essential to look at someone who has a great attitude, who has a teachable spirit. Those are some things you want to think about. So the next question you want to ask yourself is, are you giving the opportunity to the emerging leaders to learn through leadership development programs, right? Because you want to find out if you're raising up potential leaders. So, number one, are you identifying them? Number two, are you providing them the leadership development they need? And how do you do that? By joining, putting them through a formal leadership development program. And this is not only going to equip them with the foundation of leadership. They'll have the benefits of experiential learning, discussing with their peers, learning from their peers, self-directed learning. The feedback I get from my Dream Big and Body Academy is very fulfilling. The messages and emails from those who've come through my programs, they really melt my heart and confirm that I'm in the right place to make a difference, in the lives of these leaders, making their leadership's dreams come true. So having them go through a leadership development program, the benefits are endless, that of mentorship, coaching, experiential learning, having the foundation that they need. When I look at my own career, it took me forever to figure out, being a great leader. So I always said to myself, I wish I didn't have to go through so many hoops trying to figure it out myself, but go through a program like the DBB Academy where everything is already structured and tested, and I would just go through it and then just start doing what I'm expected to do. So, all right. So find a leadership development program and make sure you sign them up for that. And then also the third point is, are you encouraging autonomy and decision making, right? So Fostering autonomy and decision making skills in your team includes many things such as goal setting, being able to delegate responsibilities, being able to provide training and resources. And it's not all the time about handing information, but then having them to cultivate, the culture of having them to cultivate the culture of curiosity, being always curious, not just, applying what is handed to them, but being curious. And that's something that's really important. Being a curious leader is going to help them a lot. Encourage, risk taking that's calculated, of course. I talked about mentorship, being able to provide constructive feedback. You want to look at ways to promote collaboration. Look for decision making frameworks that they can use. Accountability, accountability, accountability. I can't talk about it enough. And it's not just about holding people accountable, but being accountable to your own self. Because you got to be able to lead by example, right? And so being able to track, progress, look for ways to promote critical thinking, and being able to measure, those decision-making outcomes. So number 4, do you have succession planning in place? Now, this reminds me of the law of the bench by my mentor, John Maxwell. I'm also a soccer fan, and it reminds me of soccer. I call it football. When I think of the bench, it's made up of people who indirectly add value to the team or the organization. Who support their starters. Every human being has value, I believe, and every player on the team brings value. They add value to the team in some way. So why does succession planning matter? Why does the bench matter? Today's bench players in your organization or in a team may be tomorrow's stars. So if you have succession planning in place, that's going to secure your tomorrow's stars. So you got to be able to ask yourself, do you have succession planning in place? If not, try to make that happen. Number 5, that's the last point. It's about, are you providing ongoing assessment and feedback? This last point is really not the least. It's very critical. Not just any feedback, but constructive feedback. Don't wait until they fail, and then you provide negative feedback and you say to them, "That's it, you're fired." That's really not good. Actually, it's not good practice. I encourage you to have ongoing assessments, give them feedback every time, so that gives them a chance to improve, and it helps build their confidence. Right? Remember, they're doing this for the first time. So it builds their confidence, and even in their abilities, it helps them identify their own strengths. So there you have it. These are the 5 different areas or the checklist that you can use to help you identify if you are raising up potential leaders. So now that you have these 5 areas, right, what next? You have the checklist. So what are some ways you can implement this in your organization? I'd say start by assessing your current practice. Go through your checklist, assess them, and see areas where there is improvement that's needed, and try to come up with an action plan to address them. And this may include even formal identification processes or, like I mentioned before, investing in your leadership development program, granting more autonomy to this emerging or future leaders, new leaders, establishing the succession plans, and regular feedback with a focus on growth. So I would say also encourage a culture of open communication, mentoring, and learning. As a leader, regularly revisit these conversations. Adapt the checklist to suit your own situation. Ensure that there is ongoing effectiveness in elevating the leadership potential. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember that when you're raising up potential leaders, it's not just about individual growth. it's also about securing a bright future for your organization. So it's a win-win. So using this checklist, and which of course I'm going to make it available in a printable version, if so you can kind of like keep track. This is going to help you take steps that will pave the way for a sustainable success. So I want to say thank you for joining us on this journey of leadership development. And I would like to say we'll be back next week with more valuable insights in our next episode. So until then, keep raising up those potential leaders, those future leaders, those emerging leaders, those new leaders, and keep leading the way to greatness.